Alright lads, welcome back to another video. This one, as you have seen by the title and the thumbnail, is going to be a transfer video. I don't even do these at the best of times, but the fact that we've been without football talk mainly for the last 3 months, and especially in this period where there would be loads of transfers going on, and even though there is a fair few going on here and there in the Premiership, there is certainly none going on in the Scottish lower leagues. Mainly obviously because some of them don't know their start date for next season yet. Some of us do, obviously, one of us being Dunfermline and the rest of the Scottish Championship. But one thing that I really have missed being able to talk about is signing players and really having that buzz about new players coming into the squad and just getting that summer excitement of new faces and looking forward to a new season. So we're going to have a wee bit of more positivity on the channel today and look at players that I would like to see Dunfermline sign for next season, that being season 2020-21. Now obviously I have no real idea when we're going to actually start making signings. Maybe as a guesstimate I'd say end of July, start of August, because that'll be around about a month or so until the start of our pre-season. So I would imagine that that'll be around the time that we'll start making signings. So these signings are based on that sort of timeline to come in around a month or so. And let's just hope that we can see some signings soon, because as I said, I've just missed seeing my club tweet the contract emoji or DFC are delighted to sign blah dud from League 2. So first up we're going to look at goalkeeper, and in the goalkeeper position Dunfermline have really struggled, especially last season and even the season before that. We didn't really figure out exactly what we wanted, albeit last season when Scully came in for the second half of the season he performed okay to an extent and obviously got his extension into the season just past there. But throughout the season we've been flip-flopping between him and Cammy Gill, which has now seen Ryan Scully leave the club and go on to actually get an application accepted for being a police officer. So good luck on that one, Ryan. Hopefully, fingers crossed, you're better at that than you were last season as a goalkeeper. I'm really sorry to have to make that dig, but I watched you play. There it is. Scully! You're useless, man! Cammy Gill is obviously still at the club, but he's still a youngster and he does need some good competition to come in. So I would really like to see us bring back Owain Vaughan Williams, or Owain Vaughan Williams. Tell me the right way to say his name if you know in the comments below. But we obviously had Owain in the second half of the season just past there, and he barely had really any game time. I suppose he had about 2 months worth of games with us, even if that, but he did come in and prove a vital player for us and was starting to really come to the fore and show his good qualities. So I really hope we could bring a player like him back, and an experienced head in between the sticks is probably exactly what a young squad like ours needs. Now we're going to move into the defenders, and first up I'm going to mention a player from Scottish League 2 who plays for Edinburgh City. It's Liam Henderson. Liam Henderson's one that I have admired in the past few seasons, but he's come to the fore really in the season just past there, where he's scored a decent amount of goals playing at centre back and just has that aerial presence about him because of his height obviously. And I would like to see a player like that come into Dunfermline who's still young and has clearly got a lot of potential and could come in and hopefully add that presence that I've been talking about that he's shown, especially in the past season, scoring from corner kicks, etc, etc. I know obviously players at Edinburgh City will have a job outside of football, so hopefully the lure of full-time football would be enough for a player like Liam Henderson to give up his other job that he's got outside of football, but we'll wait and see. I've got my fingers crossed. Another defender that I'm going to talk about is Paul Watson. Now this guy was released for Dundee United and was immediately kind of linked with Dunfermline at least, or it was rumoured by different people. Whether they were reliable sources or not is another concern, but Paul Watson was definitely a kind of, maybe not a mainstay in Dundee United's promotion winning team, but he definitely played a decent amount of games, and Dundee United fans were quite sad that he did leave the club. They were probably looking for him to maybe be more of a squad player in the Premiership, but they thought he could have done a job, so there is absolutely no doubt that Paul Watson would still be a quality addition to add into any Championship team. And if Dunfermline could get their hands on a player like that, they're going to have a fantastic defence to put together with the likes of Ewan Murray, Lewis Martin and Aaron Comrie. I think that would be a solid defence to build a great foundation on for the next season. And then the last defender that I've got on my list is Jack Baird. Now, he's one that obviously was at St Mirren and won the Championship, playing with them, a regular part of that side actually, and then went up to the Premiership and didn't really gain a significant place within St Mirren's team in the top flight, so went down on loan to Morton, back to the Championship, and has proven to be a decent enough player for Morton. He's played the vast majority of games and become a bit of a fan favourite at Capello, and I think he's one that will be up for grabs whenever teams go to make transfers, and whether we bring him in on loan from St Mirren or bring him in on a permanent deal, I think it would be a smart move for us to make, and just another one of those that has experience in the Championship and will come down and provide just that bit more experience that a younger squad needs. So now moving on to the midfielders, and the first one is going to be a simple one to talk about. Before we jump into this list, this is Future Ben talking here. I forgot to include Cammy Smith in the midfielders section. Cammy Smith's a player that I've adored for quite some time, obviously currently out on loan to Dundalk, or was at the end of last season. Still a Dundee United player, so hopefully either we could get him in on a permanent deal or a loan deal, or if they still want Kevin Nisbet, include him as part of the deal. I would love for that move to happen. I've always been a fan of Cammy Smith and would love to see him at the club at some point. However, back onto the actual list. And next up is a man we know very well, Dom Thomas. We've seen him on the channel. He was there in the second half of the season last season and came up with some fantastic pieces of play at times and really lit up our team in the second half of the season. If we'd continued the season on, I'm sure he would have had a continued fantastic impact on the team, and I would love to see him come back. He's still under contract at Kilmarnock currently, so I don't know how realistic this one is, but as I said with Jack Baird, whether it's on loan or a permanent move, I would be delighted to see him at the club. Next up is yet another St Mirren player that I'm going to include in this, and it's another more kind of experienced player that I'm going to add into the mix, and it's Stephen McGinn. Obviously recently played for St Mirren and has been a kind of stalwart of their club over the course of a few spells at the club, and really provides that wealth of experience that a midfield needs. And obviously with us releasing Paul Payton, if we didn't bring him back in over time, then we will need an experienced head in the middle of that midfield, and I do think Stephen McGinn will be a good addition to bring in, combating the loss of a player like Paul Payton. Next up on the list is Joe Cardle. Joe, Super Joe. Easy one to talk about. I love the guy and I want to see him come back to Dunfermline one day. I believe that he will one day, whether that's in a coaching capacity or a playing capacity. This could be the road in for him to get in with Dunfermline and still be a player, but then eventually form into a bit of a coach for us if possible. I would love to see it happen, and I'd love to see Joe make his return to Dunfermline and possibly finish his career at the club, because there's no doubt that he does have a great affinity to the club and we have a great affinity to him.
Would you be open to return to Dunfermline as a coach, manager, or even a player in the future?
100%. I think everyone knows that answer before I even answer it.
Beautiful. You love to hear it. Go subscribe to the LB View, by the way, for some top quality podcasts to come in the future, as well as this Joe Cardle one. Now moving on to the strikers, and I have 3 to talk about, and the first one being Bruce Anderson, a player that was previously on loan from Aberdeen to us in the second half of last season, played tremendously well in a team that was barely scoring goals and almost became our top scorer in half a season. So that just goes to show how, 1, bad our team was back then, and 2, that Bruce Anderson can score goals. He scored 5 in the second half of last season, and he was a real sort of revelation for us, because we'd barely seen a guy that was able to finish chances, and he came in and was able to do that with aplomb on most occasions. I would love to see him come back. I think his opportunities might be a wee bit limited at Aberdeen, because there's no doubt they're going to make signings this summer. So if his opportunities are limited, I would love to see him back at the club once again. Another player returning. And the second player I'd like to see return is Jonathan Afolabi. Now obviously the guy barely got a kick in. We us obviously only played a couple of games before the shutdown and was looking a kind of nice wee player to have, a good asset to have, a difference up front and able to offer that sort of more target man type role. And I just think he'd be a good foil for a player like Bruce Anderson, etc., who are better finishers necessarily, and just be able to kind of link up with another striker. I'd just like to be able to see more of him, because he was looking promising and we just didn't really get to see enough of him, in my opinion. And finally on my list is the last striker, and it's going to be Anton Dowds, currently of East Fife. Now, he has been rumoured with full-time clubs in recent times, and I think possibly we could be one of them. I mean, I don't actually know that, but I would assume that we could possibly be one of them. At the end of the day, he plays for a Fife team just now, lives in Edinburgh. It wouldn't be far to travel for him at all. And obviously the lure of full-time football, he wants to keep his options open. I read that in the article that linked him with full-time moves. So I think Anton Dowds would be a good wee acquisition. A similar sort of player to Jonathan Afolabi rather than Bruce Anderson. Obviously Bruce is a smaller player with a bit more pace, but I think Anton Dowds would be a decent enough finisher, but also more of a target man that will give you that different option. So that's my transfer list as of now. We'll see how many come to fruition, if any, and I could possibly add to this in the future if I feel like it. But for now, that's all for this video. So if you did enjoy it, please go to like, comment below your thoughts on the signings I've mentioned, and if you're a Dunfermline fan, which signings would you like us to make? Subscribe for more of this type of content, and until the next video, I'll see you then. Cheers guys.